Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, the Jewish state is abuzz with excitement as it prepares to host U.S. President Donald Trump. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to meet with the president in Jerusalem on May 22nd. Trump is also slated to hold a separate meeting with Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas in Bethlehem the following day. The talks will be watched closely for signs of a cohesive White House strategy aimed at reviving the long-stalled peace negotiations between the two sides.
Ahead of U.S. President Trump's first official visit to the Holy Land, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu encouraged America to relocate its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The premier said that such a move would promote peace and inspire all other nations to also move their own embassies. Netanyahu went on to explain that the opening of America's official diplomatic compound in the Israeli capital would correct an historical injustice, thereby advancing peace negotiations. In 1995, Congress passed the Jerusalem Embassy Act mandating such a move, although every sitting president has signed 6-month waivers postponing that law since that time. President Trump will have to make his own decision on the matter when the current delay expires at the end of this month.
David Friedman, the newly appointed United States ambassador to Israel, has arrived in the country. Immediately after landing in Tel Aviv, Friedman asked to be taken to Jerusalem's Old City, where he paid a visit to the Temple Mount. After being escorted to the Western Wall by the site's presiding rabbi, he then kissed one of the ancient stones and recited blessings from the Bible. The new envoy said he also offered prayers for the well-being and success of his longtime friend, U.S. President Donald Trump. His visit to the holiest site in Judaism as a first gesture is thought to be unprecedented among diplomats to Israel. The following day, Ambassador Friedman officially presented his credentials to Israeli President Reuven Rivlin.
The Friday, May 12th global ransomware cyber attack is estimated to have infected more than 230,000 computers in at least 150 countries, but Israel managed to emerge relatively unscathed. That's largely because the launching of the WannaCry malware coincided with observance of the Jewish Sabbath. Most businesses were closed, and much of the public had turned off their own personal electronic devices. Israel's National Cyber Bureau also dispatched security experts to install special systems aimed at countering the computer worm, and ultimately it was announced that no significant damage was inflicted on the nation's critical infrastructure.
The Israeli Ministry of Tourism reported that an unprecedented 349,000 visitors came to the country in April. That figure not only reflects a 38% increase over the same time last year, but it's also the highest number of tourists who have ever come to Israel in a single month since the country was established in 1948. The findings are part of a trend that's been steadily rising since 2015. It seems more and more people are making unforgettable trips of a lifetime to see the nation's holy sites dotting the beautiful landscape between Jerusalem and the Galilee, while enjoying gorgeous weather, spectacular seashores, and fantastic Mediterranean cuisine.
Israeli high-tech is now helping many of the world's most poverty-stricken nations overcome severe water shortages by creating their own sustainable fisheries. The bioefficiency firm is a world leader in recirculating aquaculture systems. The Israeli innovation succeeds in lowering water consumption by as much as 85%, while more than doubling yields. One bioefficiency farm in Indonesia raises shrimp in high-density seawater, and the Republic of Congo has another capable of producing 20 tons of African catfish each year. Bangladesh is also utilizing the Israeli tech to grow catfish, and northern India is using it to raise barramundi. The Israeli installation not only helps these and other nations to meet their nutritional needs through inexpensive sources of protein, but they're also fortifying local economies with new successful small businesses.
Israel's largest national volunteer organization knows how hard it can be for people with special needs to get around, and it is doing all it can to make sure everyone who wants to visit the Holy Land is able to come. The Yad Sara organization was named to memorialize the founder's grandmother, who was killed in the Holocaust. 7,000 non-paid Israelis regularly assist the sick and disabled, as well as young mothers and elderly citizens living in every sector of the population. Now they're offering the only program in the world that provides visitors with such personalized attention. The nonprofit group arranges free use, delivery, and pickups of medical equipment, ranging from wheelchairs and crutches to electronic hospital beds and oxygen tanks. Yad Sara also supplies specially equipped rental vehicles for hassle-free airport runs, as well as making sure visitors don't miss any of the stunning historical and beautiful attractions Israel has to offer.
120 of the Israeli Army's most outstanding soldiers are honored at annual state ceremonies in Jerusalem. This year, Israeli President Reuven Rivlin personally commended Sergeant Joanna Chris Arpan for her service, which is remarkable because she's not even a citizen. Arpan was born to a migrant couple from the Philippines. She enlisted as a way to demonstrate thankfulness to the Jewish state for offering critical help to her home nation during a 2013 earthquake. Arpan even joined the same search and rescue unit that saved her grandmother's life during that natural disaster. The young woman now says that she hopes to use the training and expertise that she gained in the Israeli army to help people all over the world.
Israeli archaeologists are now working on a $27 million restoration project of a once towering ancient Roman temple in the modern-day Mediterranean city of Caesarea. Scores of workers have erected scaffolding, cleared rubble, and begun excavations around the more than 2,000-year-old ruins. Caesarea was once a vibrant Roman metropolis, built in honor of Emperor Augustus Caesar by King Herod, whose rule of Judea began 37 years before the Common Era. Historians believe the temple once loomed so high above the ancient skyline that it could be seen far out to sea by ships voyaging to the Holy Land. Each year, over 1 million tourists visit the site, which also features the oldest surviving Roman theater in the region. So far, the dig has unearthed several unexpected treasures, including a small mother-of-pearl tablet engraved with a 7-branch Jewish candelabrum known as a menorah. Write these words down, because they are the terms of the covenant I have made with you and with Israel.
Tens of thousands of Bible-believing Christians are learning the language of the Bible. Gain a deeper understanding of the Scripture. Discover the hidden meaning of the Bible that has been lost in translation for centuries. Our dedicated staff of teachers are centered in the heart of Jerusalem to help you learn the language that was spoken by our forefathers and prophets. Join the Israel Institute of Biblical Studies online course and learn the language of the Bible today. And that concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful sunny day in our rooftop studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Sergeant Benjamin Anthony. He is the founder and director of Our Soldiers Speak. Sergeant Anthony, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Please tell our viewers a little about what is Our Soldiers Speak.
Our Soldiers Speak is an organization that I founded after the conclusion of my service in the Israel Defense Forces. We are the sole organization in the history of the existence of the State of Israel through which the IDF and the Israeli National Police dispatch uniformed, active, senior-ranked officers to campuses overseas. And we've reached more than 400 university campuses to date.
When you say they dispatch officers and soldiers, what exactly do they do on campuses?
Well, we always convene our lectures to take place on neutral ground within the campus, predominantly though not exclusively at the graduate school level and beyond. And there we invite the pro, the anti, the undecided elements of the student and faculty community alike in order to learn more about the unique perspective that Israel has within the global conversation, whether that conversation revolves around issues of law, diplomacy, security, or frankly, any other matter.
They say that we're losing the battle for minds on campuses across America and Europe as well. What can this organization do to basically explain what is the reasoning behind what Israel does?
Well, the notion that we're losing the minds on campuses overseas, in my opinion, has a lot to do with the fact that everybody seems to engage in blind advocacy. I think that what our organization does is it uniquely brings senior specialist voices from the State of Israel to future senior specialists throughout the United States of America and indeed North America writ large. If you have a communication with the students and the faculty about Israel in the language in which they wish to discuss the State of Israel, then you're on to the beginning of a successful dialogue.
There is, though, this undercurrent, this blind anti-Israel movement where even if someone comes from Israel, they'll shout them out and won't let them even speak. No, it doesn't matter what they're speaking about, just because they're from Israel. Do you not encounter things of that element?
So when first we established our work, we began at the undergraduate level, and if you look through our organizational archives, you'll see that at the undergraduate level we did encounter a great many protests and a great many disruptions and disturbances. But then we moved to an entirely new level. We started to engage the graduate school community, and there I can tell you that we have very constructive dialogues and conversations. There's no insult to the intelligence of the audience. The audience respects the stature and the expertise of the speaker, and we're actually able to generate very, very successful conversations that of course are followed up with rigorous questions and answers sessions at the conclusion of the prepared comments. But any question asked in a respectful manner is a question worthy of being listened to, and we welcome that, but disruption is avoided through that formula, really.
What is the goal of Our Soldiers Speaks? Is it more of an open dialogue or an educational experience? What are you trying to achieve from these lectures?
Well, the goal of Our Soldiers Speak is really to ensure that within the context, as I said, of a global conversation taking place, within which Israel has a voice and frankly has a series of unique areas of expertise, that voice is heard, that students listen to what the current policymakers have to say, that students understand the underpinnings of the policies being implemented, and also it gives us an opportunity to hear what's on the minds of the students by way of their questions, most of which are very well informed questions, incidentally. In a nutshell, the work of Our Soldiers Speak is really to engage the policymakers of today by way of our work in the Senate and in the United States Congress, and of course the policymakers of tomorrow, who at this stage are the university students.
Unfortunately, we have a tremendous amount of experience for our military because of the military conflicts and the police because of the intifadas. What do the international community have to learn from Israel in this field?
Well, there are opportunities now that have come about in Europe, sadly, because of the terror attacks that took place in Germany, because of the terror attacks that we bore witness to in France and in the United Kingdom, for campuses in those countries and, frankly, other countries as well, to open themselves up to the Israeli viewpoint and to the Israeli best practices. So we find that's a perfect example of bringing about this commonality of conversation. They want to talk about counter-terror measures. Israel sadly has become a global expert in counter-terror, and therefore there's the beginning of a productive dialogue on those campuses.
Sergeant Anthony, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
The message that I have for the viewing audience is, first of all, to understand that they can be proud of the State of Israel, that they can be sure of the future of the State of Israel, and to equally recognize that each and every one of us has the opportunity to engage in a subject in which we can take the deepest pride, and in so doing we will protect Israel the country and Israel the people, and I thank all of them for their kind engagement within this battle for ideas.
Thank you, Sergeant Anthony, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Write these words down, because they are the terms of the covenant I have made with you and with Israel.
Tens of thousands of Bible-believing Christians are learning the language of the Bible. Gain a deeper understanding of the Scripture. Discover the hidden meaning of the Bible that has been lost in translation for centuries. Our dedicated staff of teachers are centered in the heart of Jerusalem to help you learn the language that was spoken by our forefathers and prophets. Join the Israel Institute of Biblical Studies online course and learn the language of the Bible today.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Keren HaYesod. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Keren HaYesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. This week, we will learn about the righteous among the Gentiles. Throughout Israel's modern history, many Christians have risked their lives and the lives of their families to defend the Jewish people and God's covenant with Israel.
As the Nazis ruthlessly set about their demonic plan to eradicate the Jewish people, Europe became an accomplice to humanity's darkest hour. While the Nazi gas chambers and killing fields extinguished the lives of 6 million Jews, Europeans overwhelmingly turned a blind eye to the horror unfolding, or worse, became accessories to genocide. God's compassion appeared to have abandoned Europe, an entire continent devoid of humanity. Yet a handful of people refuse to forget the Bible's teaching in Genesis 1:27. God created man in His own image. Unimaginably risking their own lives, these people demonstrated that even in Europe's sea of darkness, human kindness and mercy can shine through. Seeking nothing in return, these Christians jeopardized everything in order to save Jews from facing certain death. Often hiding entire Jewish families for months, sometimes years, they lived in constant fear of discovery and cruel retribution at the hands of the Nazis.
Et quand moi j'allais pleurer, si je puis dire, pour qu'on prenne les enfants, et quand je racontais ce qui s'y passait, qu'on arrachait les gens de leur maison, on lançait leurs vêtements par la cage d'escalier et on les emmenait par camion à Malines.
In appreciation of their remarkable deeds, these angels on earth have been honored by Israel as the righteous among the nations. Exactly how many Jewish lives were saved by these brave individuals, we don't know, but they joined the hundreds of thousands of Holocaust survivors that Keren HaYesod supporters helped extricate from Europe's inferno to reach Israel. They came from 51 countries, from all churches, from all walks of life, from remote farms, city slums, universities, high society, and beyond. They were bound by just one thing, the determination to preserve humanity in the face of all evil. Some of their stories are well known, the likes of Oskar Schindler and Raoul Wallenberg, but lesser-known heroes too, such as Adolf Althoff, Father Hubert Salis, and Leopold Socha, showed the same unimaginable courage. All carried a bright torch of humanity in a Europe enveloped by moral darkness. Avraham Savion was just 9 years old when the war broke out. At the age of 12, he was taken in by a Christian family who risked their lives and the lives of their children to save this one Jewish boy. When word got out that they were hiding a Jew, they arranged for Avraham to be taken in by a church where other Jewish boys were hiding out as well. There, they provided for his every need until he was reunited with his relatives.
ז'אן דלין, הוא היה נסיך בלגיה, והוא הציל ילדים ממוות בטוח. ואחרי שעברתי כמה מקומות הסתר, פגשתי אותו פעם ראשונה בכנסייה בתוך הטירה. הייתה כנסייה פרטית שלו, שהכומר החליט לקחת אותי, ולשים אותו נער כנסייה, זאת אומרת. אני עוזר, הולך אחרי הכומר, מחזיק לו את הגלימה, מחזיק לו את הנר, או דברים כאלה. משרת אותו בזמן שהוא עורך את התפילה. חסידי אומות העולם הצילו אותנו. אלו והנזירות והמורות וכולם הצילה אותי במיוחד. הגעתי למקום מנוחה אחרי מרדפים שנרדפתי כל הזמן. הם החיו אותנו, נתנו לנו חיים חדשים.
The righteous among the nations helped fulfill the divine wish to restore the people of Israel to their land. The descendants of those saved today number in the millions, building their lives in the Jewish state with the help of Keren HaYesod. Today, 70 years after the Holocaust, too many Jews still remain in distress and danger in perilous corners of the globe. Now is our opportunity to continue the legacy of the righteous among the nations by assisting in the rescue of these Jews to make a new life in the land of their forefathers.
Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
Read your Bible. The city of Haifa does not appear in the Bible. The city of Tel Aviv does appear in the Bible, but it's not a city in the land of Israel. It's a city in Babylonia. Ashkelon, Ashdod, the major cities of Israel today, those were Philistine cities throughout much of the biblical period. What were the Jewish cities of the land of Israel during the Bible? They were Bethlehem. They were Jericho. They were Hebron. And of course, Jerusalem. The lands of Judea and Samaria, often referred to by the world as the West Bank, are the ancestral homelands of the Jewish people. They are our tribal lands in the way that members of Native American tribes would have tribal lands. And for anybody in the world to say that a Jewish person cannot live in his or her tribal lands would be unthinkable. Certainly in any other context, would not say a member of the Sioux Nation or of the Navajo Nation couldn't live in their native lands, and their tribal lands would be unthinkable. So too is it unthinkable here. These lands are part and parcel of our Jewish identity. They are our ancient heritage, our patrimony. And as Israel remains committed to peace and understands that there's another people who also view these lands as their homelands, we will never, ever concede our right to all of these lands because they belong to us by virtue of our history, our tradition, and of course, of our faith. Judea and Samaria are the tribal lands of the Jewish people. Have any doubt about it? There's a book I can recommend. It's actually the world's biggest bestseller. It's called the Bible.
Please stay tuned for the ICJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
We know that Jews have been living in Ethiopia for well over 2,000 years. There are many who believe that the Ethiopian Jews are actually the tribe of Dan that migrated south, followed the course of the Blue Nile, and settled in those regions of northeastern Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Jews have been extremely faithful under duress, under persecution, under harsh living conditions.
To be Jews in Ethiopia, really, it's not easy. We said that we have to arrive to Jerusalem, we have to be in our country.
Kids, elders, everybody. It was like the dream was Jerusalem. So once they heard that there's chance to fulfill this dream, it wasn't a question of if, it was a question of how to do that.
They belong to Israel. This is their homeland. They have to get back to Israel, so they have to come and join their family.
It has been said about people making Aliyah from Ethiopia. In a 4-hour plane ride, they travel 400 years in time. Because life in Ethiopia, specifically in the parts where the Jewish community live, is very different than life in Israel.
They come from remote village, come to the modern country, a very educational gap, cultural gap.
They came from the rural world. They were farmers mostly, and it is hard for them to get into the modern Israeli society.
The family life changes drastically. The child picks up Hebrew within a short span of months and becomes all of a sudden the guide and the interpreter for his family.
After 3 months, I could speak the Hebrew, the language. I wanted to prove myself as an Israeli like my other Israeli friends, so I speak only Hebrew, and immediately I forgot my mother tongue, Amharic, and after a few years I couldn't speak with my mother. I had no language to interact with my parents.
You don't read, you don't write, nothing. That's the issue. So we need a lot of help. We need a lot of help.
It's not just about making Aliyah, immigrating, arriving at Ben Gurion Airport and saying, hi, here I am, I'm starting my new life. These people, in most cases, are like an Abraham. They left everything. And so just as God made promises to Abraham of what he will receive when he comes, so Olim that come to Israel have the opportunity to receive different klita, the Hebrew word for absorption, integration. Someone who makes Aliyah, who immigrates, it doesn't stop there. They receive and they need assistance in becoming integrated into Israel.
This is common mission. This is not only the Ethiopian community mission or the Israeli society mission. It's the common mission. It's the interest of all of us to acting and to be care and to be part of it in order to make this happen.
My people dreaming to come back to be in Israel 3,000 years. That dream is realized now. So we have to keep another 3,000 years for the next generation. And so we have to create a new leadership, to build a good family, to serve Israel. That's my dream.
My dream is to be fully integrated into the Israeli society, for me, for my children, for the whole community of Ethiopian Jews. I'm very pleased and very happy to hear that there are many Christians who are helping right now in Ethiopia and in Israel.
Assistance that is given by the Christian embassy to help in this integration and to give the mentoring and to give the special education assistance and to give the opportunity and to express this faith in the people and in their destiny here in Israel is something that is very needed and has a tremendous impact.
To hear and Christians come to help the Jewish people. It's a dream, you know? How could it be? The Christian people come to help the Jewish people, the state of Israel. For me, it's really unimaginable.
Thank you, the Christian Embassy and Christians around the world, your support and partnership helping us to change life every day.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elrom.
And I'm Erin Viner reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.